My name's Chris and I'll be your captain today. While we're on the water, I'm the captain anyway. The rest of the time I'm just a driver. So there are a couple of quick safety regulations before we go. First of all, no smoking please. And that goes to the rest of you as well. And number two, just keep your arms and your body inside these rails here. Because we do go close to these posts and also close to a few trees. So if you're leaning out over the side or you're watching and not watching, you might find a new bend in your body that you would have to use. They can get up to 6 metres long. If you see one that long, let me know, will you? Okay, so welcome to Rainforestation. We have 12 army ducks here at Rainforestation, and that's the largest collection in the southern hemisphere. There were about 22,000 of these vehicles made altogether, and they're all made by women in a factory in Detroit, Michigan in the USA. Okay, so our first stop here, and number one on your information sheet, just have a look at these two trees in front of us, and they're called the Iodia elleriana tree, and they're the host plant for the Ulysses butterfly. That's the brilliant black and blue butterfly in the picture there. Has anybody seen one of those since you've been here? Yeah, if you do see one, just yell and point to it because they are very spectacular looking. And during the wet season, the soil can get very soft and waterlogged. And because rainforest trees tend to have fairly shallow root systems, it doesn't always take much wind to blow the trees over during the wet season. And that's what's happened to a few trees up here on the right. And as we go past these ones here, you can see how shallow the roots are down there. And you can also see where those trees blew down and made a big hole in the rainforest canopy. And after that happens, you get all the fast-growing or pioneer species of trees and other plants. They'll have a growth spurt chasing after that patch of sunlight, and it will very quickly fill in the gap. So one of those species of trees that grows very quickly is called a black wattle tree. But because black wattle trees grow so fast, they don't always live for very long. And there was a wattle here on the left that died, and it started to drop big branches onto the track, so we had to cut it down. But as we go past the tree stump there, you can see how it's hollow inside, just like that log. And that tree and the log were hollowed out by termites, or white ants. They're not really an ant, so we use the termite name. There's a termite's nest just here that was partly responsible for hollowing out that tree. Make those tunnels because they can't stand sunlight. So those tunnels give them 24-hour-a-day access to the tree that they're eating, or to their nest. Okay, so just beside us here we have some tree ferns. These ones here with the thin dark trunk and the dark leaf, because this down south they need the extra rain and sunlight to get up here. And if you look in the centre of the crown there, you might be able to see that's where the new fronds will stick. Put that in the basket that they just made, and then put the whole thing in a running stream for a week or two. And then wash all of the poisons and toxins out. And then they can come along and pick it up out of the stream and eat it just like it was. Or they cook it up like a starch. Sparsiid ferns are epiphytes, which means they're not like a parasite. They don't hurt the tree that they're on. They just use it as a place to hang on and grow. And where they get all of their nutrients is from any dead leaves or sticks or bird droppings that fall down from above. They get caught up in that basket shape. That starts to build up in compost, and that releases nutrients that way. So that composting process also gives off a lot of heat. So you'll often find lizards, snakes, goannas, sometimes even tree kangaroos here. They're trying to eat. So how many of you knew that kangaroos can climb trees? This one here is a staghorn fern. These are far less common than the elkhorns. That's the only one I know of on the property so on there. And both of these grow very slowly. So the staghorn here is probably 20 or 30 years old. The elkhorn would be 50, 60, or even 70 years old. And you can see one of the main differences between these two. The elkhorn's made up of lots of smaller plants, whereas the staghorn is just one big plant. One of those in bloom. Another tall tree up here on the right. If you look up high on that one, you can see there's another elkhorn up there. That's more typical of where we find the elkhorns, up there in the fork of a tree or on the bigger branches. And up ahead here and on the right is another epiphyte. This one up here is a bird's nest or crow's nest fern. And the leaves on those can get up to 2 metres long. And just like a lot of the other ferns, they'll often grow right around the trunk of the tree like that. And because they grow around the trunk, that helps them out. Shade underneath the plant quite well, so it makes it hard for other competing plants to come up underneath them. So these are fairly uncommon, almost rare, and that's mainly because they grow so slowly. This one here is probably about 40 years old or more and it still hasn't reached maturity yet. It's never put out any seeds. So the big one's probably about 200 years old. They're not like a normal tree, they don't have growth rings. Okay, so as you can see we've come to a bit of a fork in the road here. I can take the left-hand track, head up and around the pond or the dam and go back to the station that way. Or we can drive down into the creek, try and go down the other side and head back that way. I usually have a vote to see which way everyone wants to go, so all those who'd like to go to the left, put your hands up please. All those who want to go to the right, hands up please. Good, that's 100% record so far, I'm happy with that. Now I should probably tell you that with everybody on board this thing weighs about 6 tonnes. So does anyone want to change their mind? No? You're all very brave, that's good. So who can tell me what this is called? Nope, it's called mine. But don't worry, if anything should happen, I'll be fine. Now if it does go badly wrong for us, your life jackets are way up the back there in those 2 boxes. But I wouldn't worry too much. We haven't lost anybody for weeks now. So I'm not going to go too far. I'm just going to stop down here in the water. But because the creek flows past there, it does move rocks around and makes holes in the creek bed. It can be a bit bumpy as we go in. So just hold on to your cameras, phones, bags, any small children you have back there, and anything else you don't want falling onto the floor. Yeah, just where I stopped down here, if you look way up high in the trees to the right, you'll see there's another basket fern. And it's a really big one. It's one of the biggest in the area and one of the biggest you're ever likely to see. So they don't get much bigger than that one up there because you can imagine the weight of that during the wet season. When it gets fully waterlogged, it'll get so heavy that that branch it's on could break or the tree might fall down, or it'll just start falling apart into big pieces because it won't be able to support its own weight. And we also have another very rare plant here, and that's called our camera tree. So if you'd like to smile and wave at the camera tree, I'll see if I can get it to take your picture. Ready? Make sure your head's not behind one of those steel bars there, and the camera's the one in the middle. Don't look at those other ones, you'll just get a little bright light in your eye. You ready? 1, 2, 3, whiskey! Whiskey's much better than cheese. But they won't climb up all the little rocky waterfalls and creeks that they need you to get up here from the ocean. Although most saltwater crocodiles do live in fresh water. So you never want to think that just because you're swimming in fresh water that you won't get eaten by a saltwater crocodile. And across northern Australia we also get freshwater crocodiles. They get up to about 2 metres long. And they're considered harmless. They could live in here but they prefer nice quiet places. So they just choose to live somewhere else. Irrigation water supply for when this was a coffee plantation. And after Rainforestation was a coffee plantation, it was then turned into paddocks where they would rest bullock teams and haul loads up and down the Kuranda range. Then it was turned into a citrus orchard where they grew mostly Valencia oranges. And in the 1970s, the current owners bought this property and they added tropical fruit trees, which is handy because the birds usually breed during the wet season. You can see all the dark lines on the tree trunks and branches there as well. They're the mud-covered tunnels that the termites have made to get up and down to the nest, or to whatever part of the tree that they're eating. So this other tree in front of us here is a melaleuca tree. As we go back through the gap here, if you ever look to the right of that gap, you can see there's a little island there. And if you look carefully in amongst all the leaves and all the trees in that island, you might see there's a few balls of leaves all stuck together, some of them the size of basketballs. And those balls of leaves are nests, and they're the nests of green ants, or weaver ants. This is normally a good area to look out for those Ulysses butterflies. Not sure why we haven't seen any. It's a beautiful day for butterflies. Beautiful day all around actually. But yeah, the Ulysses butterflies are a dark colour underneath and blue on top, so they need to be down fairly low to get a good look at that blue colour. But that iridescent blue really does stand out against the green of the rainforest. And that's probably why they're one of the fastest flying butterflies around. They fly at about 60 kilometres an hour, and they also fly very erratically. And they need to do that because they're so easy to see against the green of the rainforest that they'd very quickly get eaten. forest and get hooked up, and you have to wait a while to get untangled. They're very sharp, those spikes. Don't go grabbing one of those as I drive past, because if I keep going, you might be left hanging in the tree. So the spikes aren't trying to hurt you. They blow around in the breeze at the top of the vine there, and they hook onto the trees. There are also hooks on the bottom of the leaves here that hook onto the trees, and that's how these vines climb, is by using those different hooks and spikes. And that's what the two vines were that I showed you before, is that same plant. So when these get a bit bigger, all those hairs and spikes and leaves on the main stem, all of that stuff there falls off. What's underneath is this, and that's rattan cane. And that's what a lot of your cane furniture and cane baskets is made from, is that plant there, or one of a few similar species. Yeah, so we did have one hanging around a week or so ago, so keep your eyes open. Cassowaries are important for the rainforest because when the seeds and fruit fall down out of a tree, they don't usually germinate or grow very well under that parent tree, and so those seeds need to be dispersed through the forest, and the cassowary is the only bird that's big enough to do that for a lot of the larger fruits and larger seeds. And there are a few seeds that won't germinate at all unless they've passed through the gut of the cassowary. So that's what makes the cassowary a keystone species, because they are crucial to the survival of other species, and also very important for the overall health of the whole rainforest. Those spores blow around in the breeze just like dust, and that's how the elk horns and a lot of the other ferns get way up high in the trees. Those spores just get carried there by the wind. So Australia has less than 0.3 of 1% of the world's rainforests, but we do have some of the longest continuously surviving rainforests on the planet. So you'll find more diversity in the forests around here, and north of here in the Daintree River area, than you will even the entire Amazon. To the right side of that one, you see that skinny tree attached to the side there? That skinny tree is a big tree that started out as a seed that a bird probably dropped in the bigger tree. That seed sends a root down to the ground, and once that taproot gets into the soil, it then starts sending out roots sideways and wrap around the tree that it's growing on. That one's just started that process there now. So you all know what the plant is here with the big leaves? Yeah, banana. That one's a Papua New Guinea cooking banana. 40 or 50 different varieties of exotic fruits we've got here. And have a look in here, you might see a few bunches of bananas coming out there. A bit more coffee. A bit healthier, that coffee. And these trees in front of us here, these trees in front of us are jackfruit trees. And they get the largest tree-borne fruit in the world. They can get over 40 kgs in one. Well, okay folks, that's about it for the tour. Thanks very much for coming along with me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day here at Rainforestation. So a few things very quickly before you go. Please remember that when you stand up, there are hard steel bars above your head. Don't go banging your head in those bars, because believe me, it does hurt. Watch the gap there as you step off to the platform, and don't forget your photos in the gift shop there as you're heading through. And one more thing guys, because we are coming back after our COVID closure, if you'd like to leave us a review, that would be very helpful. If you've enjoyed the tour, my name is Chris, and if you didn't, my name's Donald. Thanks guys, have a great day.